Before diving into this true horror story, I want to share an important message with everyone, especially women. There is no ill intent behind this narrative. Rather, it serves as a powerful life lesson on human nature and the unseen world. Not every rejection ends in acceptance, and not every love dies naturally. There are invisible wounds, silent blows to pride, and human hearts that, when broken, transform into something genuinely terrifying. Every woman has the right to refuse, and every man has the obligation to accept. Yet, between rights and duties lies a space called empathy. Rejecting someone gracefully does not diminish you, it reflects your maturity. We can never truly gauge how fragile a soul is when its feelings are shattered, or how far someone will go into the dark when pushed past their limit. What you are about to read is a true paranormal encounter that directly crossed paths with my life. It is a haunting tale of affection turned into a curse, vengeance paid for in human sacrifice, and how dark sorcery becomes the ultimate outlet for a wounded ego. This is the story of the deadly toll proof that the most terrifying monsters aren't born in the spiritual realm, but rather crawl out from the dark corners of the human heart. This terrifying event happened to a coworker at the very first factory I ever worked at. Let's call him Ryan. Ryan was an ordinary guy who became completely infatuated with a woman named Maya. In Ryan's eyes, and to anyone who saw her, Maya was flawless, stunningly beautiful, and highly articulate. She worked as a cosmetics sales promotion girl at a major department store. Because they frequently crossed paths and exchanged casual pleasantries, Ryan began to harbor massive hopes. This deep obsession would eventually unleash a catastrophic curse. On a quiet Sunday afternoon, Ryan asked me to accompany him to Maya's house. Her residence was large and luxurious, located in an affluent neighborhood with an SUV and a sedan parked in the garage. It was glaringly obvious that Maya came from wealth. I chose to wait outside the gate while Ryan walked up to the porch. Shortly after, Maya came out to meet him. From a distance, I watched their interaction. Maya's expression, initially polite, abruptly hardened. Her face flushed with anger as she turned around and slammed the door, leaving Ryan to walk out of the yard with slumped shoulders. When he reached me, Ryan's face was completely hollow. He explained that Maya hadn't just rejected his confession, she had humiliated him with vicious insults. Worse yet, to completely crush his pride, she had spat on the ground right in front of him. As his friend, I tried to comfort him, telling him there were plenty of fish in the sea, but Ryan's response made the hair on my arms stand up. He let out a twisted, vacant smirk. His fists clenched so tightly his knuckles turned white, and a chilling curse spilled from his lips. Mark my words, and you are my witness. If that girl isn't begging at my feet, completely mad for me by tomorrow, I hope I get pulverized under the wheels of a semi-truck. Before I could talk some sense into his spiraling mind, Ryan leaned in and whispered the name of an ancient, forbidden love ritual. For ethical reasons, I cannot disclose the exact name. Ryan then pulled a handkerchief from his pocket, marched back onto Maya's porch, wiped up her residual saliva from the floor, scooped a handful of soil from her front yard, wrapped it tightly, and told me it was time to leave. As someone who was naturally skeptical about black magic, hexes, or voodoo, I didn't think much of it during the first week. Ryan simply became an intensely quiet shadow at the factory. Due to our opposing shift schedules, our communication faded. However, exactly 1 month after that fateful Sunday, I witnessed a supernatural phenomenon that permanently shattered my skepticism. I was leaving the factory gates when I saw a car pulling up to drop Ryan off for his shift. My jaw dropped when I saw the driver. It was Maya. The once arrogant woman was staring at Ryan with completely vacant, submissive eyes. It is incredibly easy to distinguish between someone who is genuinely in love and someone operating under the influence of dark entities or witchcraft. Unnatural obsession. Maya's treatment of Ryan was excessively intense, defying all logic. Hysteria upon separation. If Ryan left her side for just a few hours to go to work, Maya would throw violent tantrums at home, screaming his name like a person possessed. Radical behavioral shifts. She began physically attacking her own parents and would only calm down the moment Ryan was physically present. To ensure she was never away from Ryan, Maya quit her job. This bizarre, toxic dynamic quickly became the main gossip among the factory workers. Maya's desperate parents even tracked down Ryan's rented room, begging him to marry their daughter for the sake of her sanity, offering him any amount of money or property he desired. But Ryan flatly refused. He deliberately chose to watch her unravel. Late one night, in the factory cafeteria, I managed to pry the grim details out of Ryan. This was the moment he laid bare the dark occult practices he had executed with the help of a dark sorcerer. Nothing in this world is free, Ryan began coldly. He explained that the most potent catalyst in the world of dark magic and hexes is a physical sample of the victim hair, nail clippings, or bodily fluids. Ryan used Maya's saliva and the soil from her home to bind her soul indefinitely. To activate the curse, Ryan had to undergo a brutal ritual dictated by his occult practitioner. The pure fast, abstaining entirely from meat and animal products for a strict duration. The sleep deprivation ritual, staying awake for 2 straight weeks from midnight until dawn to await the arrival of a companion spirit, Jinn. The sorcerer Ryan consulted was not a fraudulent mystic, but a deep-seated practitioner of the dark arts, who could only be reached through a carol, an intermediary, or someone who has already deeply stained their hands with malevolent sorcery. Ryan swore to me that on the final night of the ritual, a demonic entity manifesting as a skinless, bloated pig's head as tall as a doorway materialized in his room. Once Ryan stated his malicious intent, the creature vanished into thin air. By the very next morning, Maya was at his doorstep, completely stripped of her free will. When I questioned Ryan about the price of this unholy pact, he initially claimed he only had to sacrifice decapitated chicken heads and drink their blood until the 7th offering. However, there was a far more sinister reason behind why he refused to marry Maya. I later learned a terrifying truth from our factory supervisor, whom Ryan had drunkenly confided in. In reality, once the 7th avian sacrifice was complete, Maya's life was the final toll required to seal the demonic pact. If Ryan did not allow the entity to claim Maya's soul, Ryan's own life would be forfeit as the substitute. Our supervisor even confessed to seeing a towering, shadow-like porcine entity tailing Maya's car whenever she picked up Ryan late at night. For nearly 2 years, Maya withered away in a state of absolute madness. She spent her days screaming, tearing out her beautiful, long hair, clump by clump, until her scalp was bald and bleeding. She completely lost her sense of self, eventually passing away in absolute agony. Ryan had intentionally delayed the finality of her demise just to satisfy his malice and watch her suffer as slowly as possible. So, what became of Ryan? My contract at the factory ended, and I moved away. The last update I received regarding Ryan was deeply unsettling. He is still alive, but his existence is utterly miserable. His body has emaciated into a skeletal frame, entirely consumed by negative spiritual energy. He now scrapes together a living as a destitute scrap metal scavenger. The residual karma of the black magic he unleashed is slowly eating him alive from the inside out. This real-life horror encounter serves as a stark warning. The dangers of dark manipulation and the occult can target anyone. It doesn't just strike the arrogant. Even innocent, well-meaning individuals can fall victim if they cross paths with the wrong person. From this harrowing experience, we must carry forward 2 vital lessons. Guard your words and attitude. If you must reject someone's affection, do it with grace, elegance, and respect for their dignity. You never know the true capacity of a wounded heart. Strengthen your spiritual shield, keep your faith strong, and fortify your spiritual boundaries with prayer. The unseen world and its malicious forces are very real, operating just beyond the edge of our perception. May this true horror story offer deep spiritual awareness. Stay safe, stay guarded, and until next time, keep watching the shadows.